Socially distanced from the rest of the planet, New Zealand locked down hard and locked down early and went into isolation.
Sit at a distance, stand as one. And when the time is right, we welcome you.
In a bid to avoid the devastation wrought by responding too late, the country went into COVID-19 hibernation. Woefully ill-prepared for the pandemic, and with cases rising fast, it had no option. It was tough, but they did it. Today, the Director General of Health had good news.
Today, we have no new cases of COVID-19 to report.
A cause for celebration, he said, while still urging extreme caution. New Zealand eased its harsh lockdown last week.
Oh, it feels so good. It feels so good. I love it. Missed it so much.
Bit of a relief.
Yeah.
Now, having faced the same threat as everywhere else, Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern has seemingly vanquished the virus.
We have the opportunity to do something no other country has achieved, elimination of the virus, but it will continue to need a team of 5 million behind it.
Aged 39, New Zealand's youngest ever female Prime Minister has a degree in communications, and in crises it shows.
Kia ora koutou, everyone. Welcome back to our podcast. I asked a few people on Facebook and Instagram to give me some questions for you.
Evening, everyone. That I would jump online quickly and just check in with everyone, really.
She's won people over with a stream of informal live Facebook chats. This one straight after putting her baby daughter to bed, all explaining the lockdown.
Okay, I'll be staying in touch, so you'll be seeing me lots and lots. I'll try and answer as many of your questions as I can.
Any tips on how to...
Here she's discussing how to explain things to children.
My little test virus here. So that
COVID's been the ultimate test of political leadership everywhere. Ardern's trust rating now stands at 88%. The Hui is NZ's flagship Maori current affairs programme.
Internationally, she's been hailed for all but eradicating coronavirus here in Aotearoa. I spoke to the Prime Minister, Jacinda Ardern. And they say that the government has treated Māori as an afterthought.
I do think that a real effort has been made to make sure that that we were engaging with Māori as early and as quickly as possible.
Mihi Forbes, the Hui's anchor, says Ardern doesn't run from tough questions and has come into her own with COVID-19.
I think she's just really good in a crisis. We've had she's had 3 major crises in the last year. We've had the massacres in Christchurch, which she became an international leader. She was talked about all over the world. And then we had Whakaari White Island eruption, and she fronted, particularly well there. She is clear and she's comforting. And now we have the COVID-19. I think she has a high emotional intelligence, and she's able to read situations. And for a moment, she's able to feel what it's like to be in somebody else's shoes.
Jacinda Ardern still has her critics who point to her government's poor pandemic preparedness and her sledgehammer response. To most Kiwis, though, St. Jacinda's canonisation is justified. It was her response to the mass shooting in Christchurch last March that first set her apart from other world leaders.
You've got an empathic style which has come to the world's attention. Do you feel that that is the way forward in a situation like this?
I haven't really paid much attention or analysed. I've just done what's felt like the right thing to do.
The easing of lockdown in what was the first week of Ramadan means Omar Muhammad Nabi, who we met last March, is able to visit the grave of his father, Haji Daud, shot dead in the mosque. The Prime Minister's response to the attack left a lasting impression on Muslims, he says.
So yeah, it's going to get easier. We will get there, inshallah. I think the Muslim community is overwhelmed by her. She's done a really great job.
3 days after the massacre, which left 51 dead, children spontaneously performed a Maori haka to honour their dead school friends in a Christchurch park next to Al Noor Mosque. Hagley Park is deserted and tranquil now. But at the mosque, reminders still of what happened here. Jacinda Ardern asked New Zealanders not even to mention the killer's name, but instead to honour the names of those who had lost their lives. These pictures are from a documentary made by acclaimed writer Baruj Bouchani, an Iranian refugee held for years in an Australian offshore detention camp in Papua New Guinea. Just before COVID hit, Bouchani was granted a visa to visit New Zealand. Now he's in Christchurch claiming asylum. For him, the lockdown was beyond irony.
It is very strange and very surreal that I was in a prison camp for 6 years. Then I got freedom just for a while. So I was just exploring the city and, experience freedom, and then I experienced this. But the important thing is that people of New Zealand trust in the government. So that's why they have been successful. If compared to a country like Iran, that people don't trust in the government.
Sumner Beach, a favoured exercise haunt for Christchurch residents, now lockdown's been relaxed a bit, has become a cause for concern as New Zealand emerges slowly from COVID-19. This past weekend, police swept the beach, clearing out hundreds of cabin-fevered people who'd turned up to soak up the sun, prompting stern warnings that breaches of restrictions could undo all that's been achieved. Jacinda Ardern's explicit intention of banishing COVID-19 from New Zealand's shores was a bold one and may yet be judged unrealistic. The economic costs will be brutal in a country so dependent on tourism. But so far, so good, and fortune favours the bold.
While we can take heart in recording no new cases today, the result reflects the situation that ultimately reflects the end of lockdown in Alert Level 4, not the effect of greater activity at Level 3. So despite this result, my message remains the same, as I note does the message of Dr. Ashley Bloomfield. Stay the course. We cannot afford to squander the good work to date when our end goal is so close and within reach. Next Monday, we will make the decision on whether or not we will move to Alert Level 2. That day represents the end of a 2-week life cycle, as it were, a period of transmission of the virus. We need every day between now and next Monday to know for sure that we succeeded in locking in the gains of Level 4, recovered effectively in our waiting room of Level 3, and are in the position to move down again and give New Zealanders back greater freedoms. In making our decision, we will be assessing if there have been low to no cases for several days preceding. It will mean knowing where every new case over the past 2 weeks has come from. It will mean ongoing evidence and confidence of no widespread community transmission. So we need to not get ahead of ourselves, stick to our bubble, and to finish the job that we've started. Related to this, the latest Google tracking data for the last weekend of our Level 4 lockdown came out over the weekend. Overall, it shows we did exceptionally well, and that for the duration of lockdown, we maintained very consistent levels of low amounts of movement. Trips to parks and places of recreation did experience an uptick in the last week, and that is something we need to keep an eye on at Level 3, just in terms of when we are out and about, maintaining physical distancing. However, we did better than many other countries we compare ourselves to, and the ongoing commitment to physical distancing and staying at home has no doubt been the biggest contributor to our rapid drop in cases at level 4. Your efforts, New Zealand, have put us at the front of the pack, and everyone should feel very proud of that. Cabinet today discussed what Alert Level 2 would look like in the event that we move there and when we're ready to move there. I'll share those details with you on Thursday once the guidance has been fully written up and we can clearly communicate that to the public and to businesses. This will provide clarity and certainty and give people time to prepare. Please note though, as with our previous process, no decision has been made on moving out of Alert Level 3 at this stage. As we've done previously, you will receive clear guidance and clear signalling before any such move. In the meantime, the government is well advanced in our plans to get New Zealand moving and grow in the wake of COVID-19. Central to those plans in the budget is the budget in 10 days' time. Our hard and early health response to fight COVID-19 has opened up economic opportunities. Now, as we get the economy moving again, we look to both domestic and international opportunities to make the most of the head start New Zealand has with its recovery. But I need to warn you, the budget will continue the government's careful and balanced approach to running the books. With decreased revenue and the government taking on extra debt, we are being very careful to ensure that every dollar spent helps create jobs and sets us on a path to our country rebuilding better. Finance Minister will have more to say on this in his pre-budget speech this Thursday. One key aspect of our plan to get New Zealand moving is the work on the Trans-Tasman bubble. Today I can confirm that I've accepted Prime Minister Morrison's invitation to participate via video link in the Australian National Cabinet meeting scheduled for tomorrow. The meeting will discuss a range of matters in relation to the COVID response on both sides of the Tasman, including the creation of a Trans-Tasman travel bubble. I will update media on the meeting tomorrow, in fact just after the meeting. But it is fair to say such a meeting is without precedent and highlights both what's happened with the cooperation at a state level in Australia and then also the mutual importance of our two countries and economies to each other. Both our countries' strong record on fighting the virus has placed us in the enviable position of being able to plan the next stage in our economic rebuild and to include Trans-Tasman travel and engagement in our strategy. On to the segment loosely called Kiwi Ingenuity. I know that the biggest agricultural event in the Southern Hemisphere, our National Field Days, is still hoping to go ahead later this year. And this is an incredibly welcome plan that they maintain, considering the economic shot in the arm it gives our rural services sector. More than $500 million in sales last year, and the flow on that has for our regional communities, $183 million for the Waikato alone. But like many events across the country, they're planning to host these again only when it's safe to do so, and so that work continues. But in the meantime, that mid-June gap in the calendar will be filled with Field Days online. A virtual event I know the Field Days Society has been working on for some time, and one that can bring hundreds of exhibitors together, helping connect New Zealand and international companies at a time when our borders are closed. The world wants our quality food and fibre, and perhaps now more than ever, our high quality ideas as well.